Hey, get inspired, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Life Inspired. If this is the first time you're tuning in, this is a show all about how and why people are following Jesus. And so you can watch this show on our YouTube page, Inspired Homes YouTube page, Inspired Homes Facebook page, or at lifeinspiredshow.com. And we do ask that you would subscribe to the YouTube page, like the Facebook page, because that will help get these stories out to more people. And that's what we want to do. We want people to know some of the great things that God is doing all throughout the world, even in the midst of coronavirus, right? So we have a great story today to share with you. One of our newest teammates at Inspired Homes is my friend Diane Kreager. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Thank you so. Yep, thank you so much for being with us. So, Diane, I have had the privilege of selling at least one house for you, and several of your children, all three of your children, I've either helped buy or sell, or more than one. I think Ryan and Ashley had three sales we've had together at least. So, and then now you decided to get your real estate license and come work with us, and so we're going to talk about a turning point, Diane, and you're going to tell me maybe a backstory to the turning point, and then a dot, 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 and then God stepped in and did something from the backstory, and he says, yeah, you're not going to keep doing this, you're going to do something new, and then that new thing is something he's inspired you to do. So what are you going to share with us? Tell us what you have to talk about today. Give us a backstory.
Okay, well, I am a wife, a mother of three married kids. They're all launched, and I'm expecting grandchildren, two more, number 7 and 8. And that has just been a huge joy for me. I'm just a
Yeah.
proud grandma. So that's been a huge joy. Most of my life has been focused on teaching. I've either been a classroom teacher, a reading teacher. I've done some real estate in the past where I feel that that's part teaching and part helping people to find their dream house.
Right,
So,
right.
yes, I'm a helper. That's me. That's where I get my greatest joy.
That's right.
Yeah. But
Yep.
I've always had Jesus in my life as the priority, then family, work, and service. So it's been, he's always been whispering in my ear, but as the journey went along, I would say that Jesus has been a stronger focus as I go along in my life. So, yeah. So, a couple
Right.
of things that came to mind of service. For the last few years, I've been working at a place called Our Lady of the Road. And it's a drop in center that was started by Dorothy Day back in New York City in the Great Depression. And these have just taken
Wow.
off all over the country. And so at Our Lady of the Road, it is a model of sitting down with folks who drop in. Many are homeless, some are not, but sitting down, sharing a meal
Wow.
and fellowship. And that has been an incredible model of just a family style meal. So that has been a
That's
great
awesome.
service that I've been enjoying. And also working with Women's Care Center, just helping the moms and babies. This is such an important ministry. We have people who want to choose life, but they need the support through their pregnancy and, most importantly, after baby is here. So those have been two things
Right.
that God has just called me to work with.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. So when we were selling your house on the south side, you and Dan had started to do, I think it was Franciscan. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, yes, I was going to kind of lead into that because my faith journey growing up in Mishawaka in a neighborhood that,
Winding Brook.
yes, yes, we were one of the first homes in Winding Brook, and everybody had large families. So I had 6 brothers and sisters. Many families were Christian or Catholic, and it was just a great environment. So I was growing up in this big family, and of course, Sunday Mass was expected. And We went to Catholic school. So that was a bit of evangelization along the way. But really, in the 60s and 70s was a huge turning point. And that's when I started to say, I don't really like the way things are going. People are not serving Jesus. They're not really thinking about him. They're not going to church. They don't have their community. So that started to worry me. And that was about the time I got married to Dan and we started our family. And we were saying, how are we going to pass on the faith to our kids? We don't want them to grow up and basically forget about Jesus.
Right.
So we had a turning point. One of our turning points, a really wonderful couple. We were living in Warsaw at the time, and they said, why don't we do a Friday night prayer time? Let's do a prayer group. And so we ended up with 3 couples, and everyone had 3 or 4 kids. And so we would pray and we would have fellowship and food. And I think that was one of our turning points to say, let's pass this faith on to our kids and let's start growing ourselves.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, so then we just started looking into more things that we could jump into, like Bible studies, seminars. We went to several pilgrimages. I think one of our favorites, we kind of got lost. We were supposed to see Pope Francis, and we took a little sideline from our seating area, and we ended up about 10 feet away from him. And I felt like the Pope was waving to me personally. So
wow,
to me, that
so
was
cool.
like, yes, that was like my rock star moment. Like, oh my gosh. Another turning point that I wanted to mention was when my daughter Lauren was just shy of her wedding to Joel, and he was in a critical accident.
Right.
And I think you know this story. So when we all met at
viewers don't know, so
yes. So the story is that Joel was working on his car and he was severely burned. So probably the worst.
Like he was like on fire.
He was, and fortunately, I think it was a God moment because his dad was saying, you know, Joel is getting married soon. I think I'm just going to go out and chat with him, see how he's doing. He's working on his car, you know, spend this time. And at the time that Doug walked out, Joel was on fire running, and Doug was able to tackle him in the wet grass, and that pretty much saved his life.
Right.
So they airlifted him to Kalamazoo Burn Clinic, and we all drove up, and it was probably one of the worst moments of our life to hear the doctors say, Joel has a 50-50 chance of making it. And, you know, just trying to stay strong, trying to pray. It was a whole journey of 2 years. And what was really cool, though, is that increased all of our faith in our family. My daughter Lauren was blogging. There were people from all over the country praying for Joel. So God was using that. He was using that. And that was a turning point for me to say, you know, God, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I sure hope that he lives and they have a wonderful life. But I had to trust in what God had planned.
Right. Right. We just have no control, do we? You can't control if your heart keeps beating. So Scott lost a friend last week from his men's group. He was on Zoom with them Tuesday night, and Thursday morning he was gone. Just heart attack. We just don't know. We have no control. So
I
always like to ask too, Diane, Right. I always like to ask too, how do you stay inspired every day? Because the way you stay inspired might be similar to something that will connect with someone else whose story might be like yours. Maybe a mom who has stuff going on with her grown children like you did, or whatever else. But what do you do? How do you get your inspiration and stay connected in your relationship to God?
Well, I'm fortunate that my husband and I like to do morning prayers. Um, it'll either be a short 30-minute church or mass service online, or it'll just be our quick morning
Uh-huh.
prayers where we say, God, this day is for you. And then we go off and do what we need to do. But you had mentioned
Right.
earlier, yes, that my faith journey had brought us to the study of St. Francis. So he's a big part of my
Right.
um, morning reflections. St. Francis really, he was a rich merchant's son, and he left everything behind to
Oh,
follow Jesus. So his whole goal was to live
wow.
simply so other people could live. And that got me really inspired because I was into earlier in my life, like, let's get the big house, the big cars, the vacations. But once you start to look at the world and say, there's needy people, how much do I really need? So that's what I try to do. It's
Right.
difficult. It's very difficult in this world to do that because the world says, um, get more. So that's what I
Right.
do. I
Right.
pray to St.
Yep.
Francis every morning. And I also feel like um, just to be mindful when we're trying to evangelize to others, it's not always by talking, it could be by listening and um, just the way that we live our life could be an example to
Right.
somebody that might catch their eye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm so
Diane,
grateful for you coming.
thank you so much. I just wanted to say one more thing. Um, Several years ago, I met a really cool guy named Kirby, and he said, you know, what's your goal in life and for your friends and family? And I said, well, I just want them to love Jesus and be happy. And I said, what's your goal? And he said, my goal is to get my family to heaven and at least 12 more.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, I just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And we are so delighted to have you on board with Inspired Homes and just looking forward to the people that you'll be able to bless through that. So thanks for doing that too, because we're excited about that. We do ask that you share this if you know somebody that's got a story like Diane's, and this can minister to them and bless them. Just share her story, and if you have people that need to share their stories from the virtual red couch, then we'd appreciate you letting us know who those are as well. So thank you guys. Have a great week. Bye.